Over President's Weekend, Braden, Emily, and I had the opportunity to attend the Rocky Mountain Synod Youth Gathering. It is a time for middle and high school youth from all across the Synod to gather in person for a weekend of fellowship, worship, and service. This year, the youth gathering happened in Denver at Augustana Lutheran Church. Well of Hope was one of 8 churches that attended the youth gathering, so we had the opportunity to meet a lot of youth from other churches. Augustana hosted activities for us, and we got to stay at a hotel nearby. When we first arrived at Augustana, there were games set up for us to play with the people from the other churches. Playing games with the other youth was one of my favorite things we did over the weekend. They always had games set up for us when we had free time. We played board games and cards with youth from the other churches, but my favorite game was 9 Square. 9 Square is a 4 square raised up, but with 9 squares, and you hit a volleyball between the squares. One day when we were eating lunch, a kid named Kevin came and sat down, and we got to know him better, and we would play 9 Square with him, and that was pretty fun. I enjoyed that they had games set up when we arrived because it gave me the opportunity to get to know other people. After we had some time to play games, we did our large group dinner, welcome, and gathering. The leaders and speakers of the event introduced themselves, and leaders and youth from the other churches in Rainbow Trail led us in music. After the music, we were introduced to the theme for the weekend, Wonderfully Made. This theme comes from Psalm 139, and we talked about how every person is unique and wonderfully made in God's image. A ballet folklorico group also performed for us. Ballet folklorico is a type of dance, music, and costume that highlights several of the different regions in Mexico. After the performance, the dancers shared with us about why they love to perform. Many of them said they enjoy having the opportunity to connect with and share their culture, and it helps others to see how they are beautifully and wonderfully made. It was a great way to end our first night at the youth gathering. The next day, we got up early and headed over to Augustana for breakfast and large group time. We sang more songs, and then we were sent out to different places for an immersion experience. The immersion site we went to is called Holy Kicks, and we got to do a service project with 2 of the other churches. Holy Kicks provides shoes for people experiencing homelessness in the Denver area. We delivered the shoes all of you donated, so thank you for that. They were so happy that we delivered shoes, so thank you to all who donated. One thing that was meaningful to me was after the day was done, we would go to the hotel, and our group would sit around and do I forget what it's called, but it was basically just a time to talk to everybody about how the day went.
After the service project of sorting and organizing shoes at Holy Kicks, we got to hear the stories of 2 wonderful people who were helped by Holy Kicks, Mr. Gregory and Miss Jamie. In both stories, they talked about how they were each struggling with a huge problem of homelessness and the struggle to get money and just overall getting back on their feet. However, Holy Kicks was there to help them, and with the help of Holy Kicks, they were able to overcome these struggles and are now helping people with the same problems as them. These stories were extremely inspiring to me and taught me a lesson that even such a small gift, just as a free pair of shoes, can be such a huge thing to people and can be a humongous help to them as well. Also, on Sunday evening, we had a very special worship on Sunday with Bishop Gonya about what it means to see yourself in Jesus. Bishop Gonya talked to us about how everyone is perfect and wonderfully made in God's image, including the LGBTQ+ community. We were shown an art and film project about how Jesus isn't just one image and that Jesus is seen differently based on who you are. He can be seen differently on race, height, gender, anything like that identifies you. This was very meaningful to me because it shows that Jesus is not just one person, one image that we have to believe in, but Jesus is made to represent you, to show how you are wonderfully made and perfect. And I think that's also the one main thing I took away from this experience, that everybody is wonderfully made, everybody is perfectly made for God, and that we should all acknowledge and accept that.
So the last thing that we really did after all of the day's activities were done was something called internal and external processing groups. And this was just a time for us as youth to maybe join with some other churches and talk about the day's activities. The first day we were kind of settling in and we didn't really know what to do. So us three went to the internal processing groups, which the internal processing group was a time for us to process the day without talking and with just drawing and maybe doing a coloring book, just try to settle down and process the day. But the second day, I went, and I think Evan came with me, to an external processing group, which was pretty actually cool because I got to talk to other churches and talk about different experiences, because each immersion site, which is the activity of the day, was different for each person. We went to Holy Kicks. Someone went on a walking tour and saw the historic sites of Denver, and there was another walking tour that was like telling about, I think, different cultures within Denver. So it was really cool to just talk to those people and think about what their immersion was like and share our immersion. And it was pretty cool to have it led by Patrick, helped us out leading it, and there was another youth ministry leader that helped us. So yeah, it was pretty awesome being able to do that. And then another thing we did, this was the very last thing, the whole trip, was we did prayer stations. And so these stations just kind of gave us a farewell. We got to say goodbye to our friends that we made along the way, and we got to just talk. So in this one, we had a bunch of name tags, and they said, "Hi, my name is," and then you gave someone a compliment, and you got to put it on them, and just be nice to them. And then there was another one, I'm not sure, do you have the picture of the prayer tree? Yeah, right here. It was called a prayer tree, and we got to write out a nice message to someone and just try to lighten up someone's day. So there were a couple other stations that I can't really remember, but it was just a really nice experience to kind of wrap it all up and, yeah, just have that experience to talk with other churches and our church and head home. So it was a really good experience. I think I speak for all the youth when I say that we'd like to do this again, and it was really awesome. So thank you guys.